السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسولك الكريم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. يا الله أنت حليم كريم عظيم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم. رب اغفر وارحم أنت خير الراحمين. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث. Inshallah, we are going to have a very rich dive into the Quranic vocabulary today with this 78th ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah. You would recall that we were discussing in the 77 ayah, وَإِذَا لَكُلَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قَالُوا آمَنَّا وَإِذَا خَلَا بَعْضُهُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ قَالُوا أَتُحَدِّثُونَهُم بِمَا فَتَحَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ لِيُحَاجُّوكُم بِهِ عِندَ رَبِّكُمْ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ أَوَلَا يَعْلَمُونَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ مَا يُسِرُّونَ وَمَا يُعْلِنُونَ. So when these people would come together in their privacy, they will ask the others, do you disclose to them, that is, you disclose to the Muslims what Allah has opened for you so that they will use it against you? Afala ta'qilun, don't you have any aql? Don't you use your intellect? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in that particular context, in the next ayah, He just says, أَوَلَا يَعْلَمُونَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ مَا يُسِرُّونَ وَمَا يُعْلِنُونَ. That don't they know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what they hide and what they disclose. And then we have this today's ayah, وَمِنْهُمْ أُمِّيُّونَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ الْكِتَابَ إِلَّا آمَانِيَا وَإِنْهُمْ إِلَّا يَظُنُّونَ. There are ummi among them who do not know the kitab except their amani, and wa inhum illa yazunnun, and they only do zan. You will notice that we have three very fundamental terms here which are very poorly translated in every single translation that I have looked up, and I've sent you 6 of them. وَمِنْهُمْ أُمِّيُّونَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ الْكِتَابَ إِلَّا آمَانِيَ وَإِنْهُمْ إِلَّا يَظُنُّونَ. If we could make these 3 Quranic terms our own terms today, inshallah, we would have gained some understanding of the richness of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, multiple layers of the meanings of the vocabulary, and also uh, conceptually some clarifications which are very relevant to what's happening right now. So all of these things, inshallah, today, in this next hour. From the context of the ayah, it is quite clear that we are discussing the Yahud. This ayah is in reference to the Yahud. That's very clear that these are the Yahud in Medina who are saying this, what they said before in the 76th ayah. And this وَمِنْهُمْ, and among them are the ummis. Let's just use the word ummi for now. وَمِنْهُمْ, among them, or in them, or some of them. Who are they? The pronoun here, whom, refers to the Jews. Now, we can just stop there and say, okay, this refers to the Jews, but our tradition does not stop there. It goes to further specify that there are groups within the Jews, and there are groups of munafiqeen, وَمِنَ الْيَهُودِ وَالْمُنَافِقِينَ, ummiyun. That is, there are groups within the Yahud, and those groups contain those who are ummi. أَيُّمَنْ لَا يَكْتَبُ وَلَا يَقْرَأُ. Now, so this is just further specification that these are not the entirety of the Jews of Medina, but some among them who have no knowledge, who do not read, do not write. Now, this is the word that we want to make our own, ummi. Where does this word come from? And what is the meaning of ummi? And is the word ummi positive or negative connotations? Are they always the same? Are they different? Do they change? These are some of the things, inshallah, that we want to make our own today. Because this word has been used in the hadith as well, the Prophet ﷺ also uses this word. And therefore, it's kind of, uh, and it's also a word that we want to make our own because of other reasons of usage in the Quran. So, how do we understand any word in the Quran? Where do we start? We always start with the root. The Quranic roots are the stable roots. Quranic roots are roots which have stable meanings and a range of meanings. Every root is like a river, and many branches come out of the river, and it depends on the context. The meaning keeps changing, but it is perpetually connected to the root. You can think of the root, the Arabic roots, as the tree trunk and lots of branches, and some branches extend further because other people have grafted something on those branches, and so the root is the same, but the greater semantic field can extend the meaning of the roots. And roots are always 3 letters, 4 letters, or 5 letters. 4 and 5 letters are rare. 5 are very rare. There are some in the Quran 4 letter roots, but most of them are 3 letter roots. And what do you think is the root of ummiyun? Anyone can guess? Alif, la, alif, mim, mim. Alif, mim, mim, meaning this is an intensified root with the 2 letters being the same. Al and al is, this word is so beautiful because it is the root itself. Is the root. Is the mother. Is Hawa alayha salam. Yani, is the first woman. Is the mother of everything. And we say ummi. We say to our mothers are ummis. So because means mothers mean everything comes out of the mother. Like we are all children of our mothers, we were nurtured in the womb of the mother. So, and because anyone who is connected with the mother relationship can also be our mother, like the foster mother, like the mother who gave us milk or who raised us. Even though Raghib al-Asfahani says, because of this connection, the meaning then extends to everything which either comes out of a mother thing or has very deep connections with it. So he quotes Khalil al-Farahidi, who is the first, who compiled the first Arabic lexicon, which is still used, which is such a wonderful resource that everything which can contain or which inherently has the foundational critical mass of another thing is called their mother, their وَإِنَّهُ فِي الْكِتَابِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّهُ فِي الْكِتَابِ. So al-Kitab here refers to the Allahul Mahfuz, the preserved tablet, which is the container for all books of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which has the knowledge of everything in it. Makkah is called Qura, the mother of cities, because the the earth was spread out from Makkah. Makkah is the geographical center of the planet Earth. Makkah is also, we are not talking about what's happening now, but Makkah as a place that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made on the surface of this earth as the center of gravity, as the foundational place for everything else on this earth. لِتُنْزِرَ أُمُّ الْقُرَى وَمَنْ حَوْلَهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He sent down this Quran to the Prophet ﷺ so that he could warn Ummul Qura wa man hawlaha. Now here Ummul Qura means those who live in Makkah, wa man hawlaha, and those live around. So Ummul Najum is the galaxies. Ummul Idiyaf, Ummul Masakin. So all of these are extended meanings. Anyone who is the epitome of compassion for the needy, Ummul Masakin. The Prophet ﷺ's wife was given this, one of the wives was given. Ummul Kitab is Surah Fatiha, because this surah is the This surah contains the entirety of the Quran in it. So the Quran has several aspects of but let's go back to Ummiyun. What do we understand from the, and Ummah also comes from it. Ummah also comes from. So what do we understand from Ummiyun? Prophet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna Ibrahim kana ummatan qanitan lillahi. Ibrahim alayhi salam was an ummah. Ummah, al-ummah is all those groups of people who have some fundamental inherent relationship. So many people are confused now about the Ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, and they are just living at a very surface level of the Quranic conception of Ummah, the Ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ had and continues to have three kinds of Ummahs. There are those who believed in him and still believe in him, and they are real believers in his message and his and him. This is the real ummah of the Prophet. Then he has an ummah to as those who are the recipient of his calling, meaning those who are invited by him to believe in him and consequently in the Quran and consequently in the message of the Quran. So this is the ummah of his da'wah. This is the ummah of his calling. And they were initially, when he was living on the face of this earth, alayhi salatu wasalam, those who were within the reach of his call. And after he passed away, and it still remains, the definition remains, but because his calling was to the jinn and the human beings, his calling was, he is rahmatul lil alameen, he is caller for the entirety of creation, not just you and me and humans of his time or later, but entirety of creation. So he is the universal caller, the final caller to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, his ummah of calling includes even the Jews of living today, the kuffar living today, and up until the end of time. Everyone is the ummah of his calling. And then there are people who rejected his call, Abu Jahals and Abu Lahabs and people living today as well. So they are still his ummah who rejected his call. But because his universality includes everyone, so he is the caller. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Inna Ibrahim kana ummatan qanitan lillahi. He calls one person, Ibrahim alayhi salam, an ummah. So somebody told me on Friday that one person does not make an army. Here is our proof that one person does make an army. Ibrahim alayhi salam is an ummah. So he is called ummah because of his high station, because of his extreme capacity to hold the entirety of humankind. Uh, so ummah has many, many meanings, and this is one of them. We want to get to the ummi and then ummiyin. Ummi, all the translations or many translations would say ummi is as those who cannot read and write, do not read and write. And the Prophet ﷺ is also called an ummi in that sense. But ummi, and in that sense, it can also be considered a negative term, or he doesn't know how to read and write, therefore he is lower in status. But that's not how the Quranic definition works. The Quranic definition here is of positive connotations. Those who come out of the womb of their mother in their purity, they are ummi. They do not know reading or writing, but they have the fitra, they have the divine imprint on them, they have the fundamental human sifa, the properties, the characteristics of a pure being. So in this sense, ummi becomes a positive term. Ummi becomes the purity. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Inna ummatun ummiyatun la naktubu wa la nahtubu. He said that, this is a hadith in Sahih Bukhari, that we are an ummah, we are ummi, inna ummatun ummiyat. Yani look at the beauty of this phrase, ummatun ummiya. We are an ummah that is ummi, la naktubu wa la naksubu. If you go into this understanding of writing, la naktubu, we do not write, wala nahsubu, we do not compute, we do not do math. This is the entirety of the iktisabi ulum, of the acquired knowledge that we have, is of two kinds. One is writing, here includes reading. One is everything but mathematical sciences, and the other is the mathematical sciences. Nahsubu, we do not have this mathematical science, we do not add and subtract, meaning we are in that state of purity where we are above this human uh, transactional details of writing and computing, because all our trade, all our dealings, all our affairs in this world are buying and selling. But think of a people who are beyond the necessity of buying and selling. They don't even have money, they don't even use money. They are so free. Like we are just tied, we are just imprisoned by these dollars and cents that we always count and add and subtract. These people live beyond the domains of buying and selling. They live higher, in a higher domain, where even the textual words, written words, are not there. But this does not mean that they do not have wisdom. On the contrary, these are the people, purest people. So he said that we are an ummah, we don't write, we don't read, we don't compute. And that means we are ummi in the sense that we are pure as we were born. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala applies the word ummi to the Yahud, وَمِنْهُمْ ummiyun, it becomes a negative attribution, because these people are the people, remember in the previous ayah, they are writing, they are changing, they are just, and we have several examples coming inshallah of their writing, their attempts to, now they are not ummi in the sense of not being able to read and write. وَمِنْهُمْ ummiyuna, meaning they do not know the book, or they know the book but they change it. Is that clear that we have منهم أميون لا يعلمون الكتاب إلا أمانيا. This is the إلا أمانيا part that makes the whole construction negative, because they do not know the book except their amani. So this is the second term that we want to really make our own, because this word is so beautiful and is so powerful. Yani this, anyone who knows what amani is and really knows and internalize and doesn't do amani, you'll be inshallah saved. Illa, illa. La ya'lamun al-kitab is clear, right? They do not know the book. Illa is except. Illa is harful istasna, meaning this is the exception that is used, but there is something more to it in this particular context. This illa here is given huwa istisnaun munqata. This illa is not just an ordinary illa, it's not an ordinary exception. This is qat'i, this is absolute exception. And the dalil and the proof that this is an exceptional, absolute exception is ma lahum bihi min ilmin illa ittiba'a zann. In Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 157, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ma lahum bihi min ilmin illa ittiba'a zann. Now we also have a zan there, and we are inshallah going to make the third term zan our own soon. But this particular illa needs to be understood. So if you are doing your own understanding, not just reading the translation, how would you understand this ayah so far up to this point? وَمِنْهُمْ أُمِّيُّونَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ الْكِتَابَ إِلَّا, just up to here. وَمِنْهُمْ أُمِّيُّونَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ الْكِتَابَ إِلَّا. Among them, meaning among the Jews, are ummi, and ummi here means those who do not read, do not understand, but illa ya'lamun al-kitaba, it's connected to their knowledge of the book. They are ummi, they are ignorant of the book. They do not have access to the book except their amani. Now let's make amani our own, and then inshallah this will become clearer. What is amani? The translations would just be incapable of translating amani. Amani is hard to explain in any language other than Arabic. Amani has, Razi says, Amani has so many meanings attached to it. So number one is that if we think of something and we think of that thing in the sense of wishing it to be true, and we become so convinced of it in our psychological makeup that we started to believe that this is true. That is amani. Meaning we construct a reality for ourselves that is not real, but it becomes real for us, and we have just convinced ourselves that this is so. That is amani. An idea or a thought or a wish that we psychologically construe to be a reality is amani. So amani is the plural of umniya. Umniya is the singular and amani is the plural. And here illa amani is used in the plural, meaning lots of self-constructed actual verses of Torah they wrote, or disfigured, reconstructed, changed verses of Torah are their amani. Is that clear? Al-amani jamu umniya walaha ma'anin mushtarika wa fi asli wahid. So he says, Razi says that there are many semantic meanings, and this word includes number one, ما تخيله الإنسان فيقدره في نفسه وقوعه ويحدثها بكونه. What a man imagines in his imagination and starts to believe that this is فَيُقَدِّرُ فِي نَفْسِهِ وَقُوَّهُ. In his own nafs, in his own inner being, he starts to believe that this is true, this is real. and it has happened, or it will happen. And min hadha qawluhum fulanun ya'idu falanan wa yumniya he. So and so promised to that second person something, and by promising it, he made it so real that the other person started to believe in it. So Shaitan does this all the time. He gives us phantoms and he says, believe in them, and he makes us believe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يعدهم ويمنيهم وما يعدهم الشيطان إلا غرورا. Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 120. يعدهم ويمنيهم وما يعدهم الشيطان إلا غرورا. Shaitan gives them promises, ويمنيهم, and he makes them so real for them. And that is how Shaitan captures us. So, what we have within our own being as our desires and wishes and good wishes and fake wishes, all of that is our amani. Now, the Jews had many amani, they still have many amani, they still have many desires and wishes which they consider to be true, absolutely true, and not only true but also real, which have happened or which will happen. We all have amani, but here we are in the context of the Jews, specifically the Jews of the time of the Prophet ﷺ, one of their, because they knew there is going to be a final prophet, and one of their amani, one of their desires was that this last prophet would be from Bani Israel. And this amani was so strong, so powerful that generation after generation they waited for a last prophet to come. After they did what they did to Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, for 570 years they waited. And when the last prophet came, their first reaction was, oh, he has all the characteristics in our books of the last prophet, but he is not from among us, and that's not possible. So, what did they do? They went back to change the verses of the Torah where the Prophet ﷺ was mentioned, to, because now there is a reality in front of them, this Hashimi, this Qurayshi, this noblest of human beings in front of them, walking and talking with this light and radiance. And they know that all of these awsaf, all of these characteristics, they have been reading for centuries. He is here now, what do we do? They went back and they changed their own books. وقالوا لن يدخل الجنة إلا من كان هودا أو نصارى تلك أمانيهم. We are inshallah going to, we read this Surah Baqarah, ayah number 100 and, no, we are going to read if we are granted the tawfiq. In ayah number 111 of Surah Baqarah, their amani, their desire, their self-constructed wish is, they say that none will enter Jannah illa man kana hudan aw nasara, except for the Jews and the Christians. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just says, Tilka amaniyum. This is just their amani. Look at the words he used here now. It's like a it's like a concentrated, powerful single word that just tears apart everything that is false. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just uses one word. Now, amani can also be something that is constructed by others, and we start to believe in that construction. And this is what the Jews also, some of them had this because their scholars constructed a fake and propagated it from the mimbars, and the ordinary people started to believe in what the scholars did. Razi says, وَمَا تُمْنِهِمْ أَخْبَارُهُمْ min anna nara la tamassuhum illa ayama ma'duda. Their scholars, the Jewish scholars, they told their masses, oh, you are not going to go to fire. And even if you went, it will only be for a while. Just give us your money. We'll save you. So they started to sell their amani. You see how this psychological power of construction of a falsehood leads to material gains, because now they are actually selling amani. Subhanallah. And so this is just amazing how the meaning is then changed to a reality that becomes a commodity. And we have a very important mufassir and scholar in our tradition, Zamakhshari, whose tafsir al-Kashaf is full of deep intellectual insights to such an extent that there is no other book, there is no other tafsir that comes even close to these intellectual insights of Al-Kashaf. But because his rational mind was ultra rational, because he used his intellect even in areas where intellect has no power, where intellect becomes invalid, where the only truth that can be acquired is through naqal, through transmitted knowledge, through revelation. So his Kashaf became a very interesting book in the sense of containing deep insights into the vocabulary of the Quran, deep intellectual, and it's not a huge tafsir, it's only 4 volumes compared to Razi, for example, or Tabari. But it's so rationalistic, but no one has been able to bypass Zamakhshari. And he says, well, ishtitaki minni. So he says, Razi actually quotes Zamakhshari here. I don't have the actual Zamakhshari text. I just, because Razi's quotes are they're very true. Like he doesn't make up like some other people did later on. Like our Muhammad Asad does, for example. He attributes to other scholars what other scholars have not said. Razi doesn't do that, but he says that Zamakhshari, explaining Amani, he said that إذا this is some إذا قدر لأن المتمني يقدر في نفسه. When someone who is a wishful thinker wishes it so hard, so intensely in his heart, that it becomes a reality, a psychologically fully confirmed reality. في نفسي ويجوز ما يتمناه. So it becomes what his wish becomes the real, to such an extent that there is no other reality left but what he has constructed. And likewise, it says, وَكَذَلِكَ الْمُخْتَلِقَ وَالْقَارِيُ, the 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 reader who actually wishes that the book should have this or that, he puts that wishfulness into the book itself. This word is so powerful in the Quran. It's got so many meanings in it, in addition to the meanings we just explained right now. And one of the ayahs is a very dangerous, is a very dangerous trans historical event that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala discloses in his book, that shaitan is the super inciter of Amani. Shaitan is the most powerful agent of putting a wishful thinking or changing a wishful thinking into reality for ourselves. And his power is so much that he is able to convince others that this is real, this is indeed the real. And this power is nowhere as intensely mentioned in the Quran as in the ayah that says, إذا تمنى ألقى الشيطان في أمنيته, in Surah Al-Hajj, ayah number 52. So I'll say something a little more about it, inshallah, in a minute. But have you understood the word amani, which is the plural of umniya, and the meaning is as wish, self-constructed reality based on our wishes, to such an extent that we obliterate, erase the real, and we put this in front instead of that. Is that clear? That Amani is very dangerous because the locus of its presence is the heart. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us several examples of the Amani. وَقَالُوا لَن يَدْخُلَ الْجَنَّةَ إِلَّا مَنْ كَانَ هُودًا أَوْ نَصَارَى تِلْكَ أَمَانِيُهُمْ. They said that no one would enter Jannah except the Yahud and the Christians, Nasara, and this is their amani, this is their wish. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَيْسَ بِيَمَانِيكُمْ وَلَا أَمَانِيَ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ مَنْ يَعْمَلْ سُوءًا يُجْزَى بِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the reality is not your wishful thinking and not the wishful thinking of the people of the book, but whosoever does an evil deed would find, will meet its reward, consequences. And the Subhanahu says, Tilka amaniyum kul hatu burhanakum. إن كنتم صادقين تلك أمانيهم. This is just their well-wishing. قل هاتوا برهانكم. Say, bring a proof if you are truthful. وقالوا ما هي إلا حياتنا الدنيا نموت ونحيا وما يهلكنا إلا الدهر وما لهم بذلك من علم إن هم إلا يظنون. Now we want to do the yazunnun. So this ayah is actually, this is from Surah Jasiyah, Al-Jathiyah, ayah number 24. So this last mention is tamanna alqa shaytan fi umniyatihi. This meaning of amani that we said is a multiple levels of meaning, multiple semantic fields. One of the meanings is of reading. Because what we are reading, this is a very deep connection, so we need to pay attention to the depth of the change here. When we wish something, we so intensely that we start to construct it as real, then we read into what we want to see, read into what we read. So, alamani then is also used for recitation. So, tamanna kitab Allahi akhira layla, tamanniya Dawood az-zabura ala risli. So a poet says that he so and so read the book of Allah in the last quarter of the night. Tamniya Dawood Zabura ala Risli. And Dawood alayhi salam recited a Zabur in a rhythmic manner slowly. تمنى كتاب الله أول ليله وآخره لاقى همام المقادير. Another poet said that so and so read the book of Allah at the beginning of the night and also at the end of the night. Is that clear how tamanna is the recitation? From amani, tamanna becomes the act of recitation. So finally, we are going to make this last part of the ayah, وَإِنْهُمْ إِلَّا يَظُنُّونَ. They only have this conjuncture, yazunnun. We did zan several times in over these lessons of the Quran, studying of the Quran. We have done this word several times. There is also an entry in the second volume of IEQ on conjuncture. But because zan has a spectrum of meaning that extends from yaqeen, any full certitude, to full doubt. That's why this word needs to be made our own. And it is the context that determines whether Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using this word as conjuncture, doubt, shak, yaqeen, certitude. What is the intent behind the use of zan in a given ayah? So this word here is very clear that this is just their own conjuncture. Illa amaniya wa inhum illa yazunnun. But this is an action. This here is made an action, like a deed. Like they are but doing yazunnun. They are just doing this. They are just making this self-constructed wish. They are making it a reality. You would notice, those who can read the text, you will notice that there is something very important here in the ayah, and that is in. Wa in hum illa yazunnun. Wa minhum ummiyuna la ya'lamun al-kitaba illa amaniya wa in hum illa yazunnun. What is this in? In here is in the meaning of ma. Ma nafia. It is the negation. It is in the meaning of not. Ma nafia is the ma that negates something. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Innil kafiruna illa fi ghurur. The kuffar, the disbelievers are in nothing but in a ghurur. Ghurur is another beautiful word, inshallah. I want to finish this ayah before we will go into ghurur, inshallah, when we get to that ayah. But yazunnun yukazzibuna wa yuhaddisuna لأنهم لا علم لهم بصحة ما يتلون وإنما هم مقلدون لإخبارهم فيها يقرؤون به. So Imam Al-Qurtubi, may Allah have mercy on him, we should really love our Imam Al-Qurtubi. He's got such deep insights into the Arabic of the Quran, into the legal aspects of the Quran, into the entire history of tafsir before him. It's like Al-Tabari, but even more concentrated, because here we have multiple Quranic sciences in his tafsir, and he saw the murder of his father in Cordoba, and he ran for his life. He came to Egypt, and he found a small place, a small village, and he spent his life, the rest of his life, in the service of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to benefit from his work, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him the highest stations in Jannah. So he says that وَيَظُنُّونَ is that they have no real knowledge of what they are saying. They are just doing a zan. Are there any questions about this ayah? So this ayah refers to the Jews. Among them are Ummi, they do not know the book, but they have these desires and wishes, and all they do is zan. They just have zan. So please make dua, make lots of dua for our brothers and sisters, the Ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. And if somebody comes and tells you that, look at what's happening now, where is the Ummah and there is no Ummah, just tell them, go away. Ummah is always there. Ummah has many dimensions. Ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, because he is Rahmatul Alameen, is also these terrible people because his calling is also for them. And those who reject, they reject to be the real Ummah, they reject to be the part of the real Ummah, and they are still in this until their last breath, in this possibility of repenting and correcting. So they are in the fire of this rejection, but they can come out of that fire and join the Ummah. And the Ummah of the Prophet ﷺ is a Quranic concept. He made us shuhada al nas. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us shuhada al nas. We are witness to people. Just watch what we are witnessing. And if we are unable to stand up for truth, if we are unable to be a witness, then we are not fulfilling our Quranic role. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the strength to be shuhada al nas, be witness upon people by our walking and talking and standing and sitting by everything we do. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار يا الله أنت حليم كريم عظيم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. I must close with two more things actually. One is related to this ayah in the sense of its trans-historic nature, and the second is related to our own situation. The first part is that this ayah apparently may mean to some readers that this is the Jews in Medina, but that's not the case because nothing in this ayah restricts to that time, because this book is still here, the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still here, and people are still doing their amani. And because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says وَمِنْهُمْ without actually saying وَمِنَ الْجُهُودِ, this minhum has several explanations, and one of the explanation is that this refers to the munafiqs. So, and munafiqs are all the time. Munafiqs are everywhere. They are all the time. And so this is obviously the. I said that in the context it appears to be referring to the Jews, especially the Jews of the time of the Prophet ﷺ. But even in the tafsir, Abu Ubaidah, may Allah have mercy on him, says that this is referring to the Jews. But there is a qawl, there is a saying here of Sayyidina Ali that these are the Majus. But because this saying is not so confirmed, Imam al-Qurtubi says that the first explanation that this is about the Jews is azhar, is more apparent. The second part that I want to just close with is that this function of self-wishing, this psychological trait of self-wishing is a human condition. It's not specific to the Jews of the time of the Prophet ﷺ. It is a human condition that happens to everyone, to us as well. And therefore, in order to be certain that what we are believing to be the real, we have to have tools to confirm that this is not our self-wishing that has turned into reality. And this is the most difficult thing for us to do because we are within a crucible. We don't have an external, we don't have means to get out of that crucible. So how do we actually have a window outside ourselves to be able to see ourselves? To be able to see our amani, to be able to see our wishes, we need to be somehow outside ourselves. And the only way to do that is to separate ourselves from ourselves. Meaning, we examine ourselves from the outside. Meaning, we cut all ties to our nafs, we cut all ties to our past, our present, our future. We just see ourselves as someone else is seeing it. And muraqabatul maut is the easiest way of doing it, meaning you put yourself in a place where you are actually dead, you are lying in the grave, and Munkar and Nakir have come, and they are asking, and at that moment, everything is transparent. So, Muraqabatul Maut is a known remedy for for those who cannot break this crucible by other means. There are many other means to do it, but this is so essential a task for us that without it we are captured by our own, we are imprisoned by our own self. Like, can we just not do it? We can do it. We can see, we know for sure that we did not exist at a time and now we are existing. And we know for sure that there will come a time when we will not exist. So if that duration, which is fixed duration from the moment we came into this world and the moment we are going to go out, is just deleted from our own self, and we say, okay, I'm looking at myself as if 100 years from now, when my bones have crumbled and I'm in the grave, like this is, and 100 years before when I wasn't here. So this person came, I was this person, my mother gave birth to me, I was here and there, I was living in these geographical conditions, these cultural conditions. I'm going to negate all of that. I'm just going to get out of these multiple prisons which have imprisoned me, my culture, my language, my everything. And then you can see yourself without the amani, without the self-inflicted reality. And because most people do not do this, most people just live in the prison of their own self. This is where the poetry of Rumi and other poetry also, even lots of Arabic poetry, that helps us to break the prison of the self. Is that clear that we are prisoners? We are not free. We are not free as human beings because we are contained within the shell, within this very hard shell of our own being. So we cannot really look at anything because there is no window in this crucible. So that was my last. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us ability to break the shell of the nafs and live at a higher level. رب اغفر وارحم أنت خير الراحمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Ya Allah, we make a special dua today for our brothers and sisters in Iran, in Gaza, in Palestine. Ya Allah, Ya Rabbil Alameen, these kuffar, these Jews, these other people, they have all joined against them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them tawfiq, the ability, the sabr, the patience to go through this trial. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us all. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us peace. رب اغفر وارحم أنت خير الراحمين وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.